This is Creative Growth, and you are listening to Creative Growth Podcast. Why you self-sabotage and how to finally stop. You are doing so well. You had the momentum. You had the plan. You had the version of yourself you are becoming. You could almost see her. And then something happened. Maybe you cancelled the appointment you've been putting off for months. Maybe you picked a fight with someone you love right when things were getting good. Maybe you quit the habit on day 11, one day before it would have started to stick. Maybe you just stopped without a reason you could name, without even fully deciding to. And now you are sitting here again, wondering what is wrong with you. Do you know this feeling? I want to tell you something before we go any further. And I need you to really hear this. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. What you just experienced has a name. It has a neuroscience. It has a mechanism. And once you understand it, truly understand it, it loses most of its power over you forever. Today we are talking about self-sabotage. Why you do it. What's happening in your brain when it happens? And exactly, practically, specifically, how to stop. Welcome back to Creative Growth, the space for women who want to grow quietly, intentionally, and on their own terms. I'm so glad you're here today, because the topic might be the most important one we've covered yet. So let's light our favorite candle, Opium Black. Make yourself a cup of coffee or tea and come along to our next meeting today. So let's get started. Self-sabotage is one of the most misunderstood experiences a woman can have. We treat it like a normal failure, like a moral failure, like evidence of weakness or laziness or some deep flaw in our character. We say things to ourselves like, I always do this. I'm my own worst enemy. Why do I keep getting in my own way? But here's what no one tells you. Self-sabotage is not a character flaw. It is not weakness. It is not proof that you don't want it badly enough. It is a neurological event, a measurable, predictable, scientifically documented response from a brain that is trying, in the only way it knows how, that is trying to keep you safe. And when you understand that, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop the shame spiral. And you start working with your brain instead of against it. Today I'm going to walk you through the psychology and neuroscience of self-sabotage, the most common patterns it takes in women's life, and 5 specific tools to interrupt it, starting today. Let's begin with what is actually happening inside you when you self-sabotage. Psychology today defines self-sabotage as behavior that creates problems in your daily life and interferes with long-standing goals. But what that definition misses is the most important part, the word unconscious. Self-sabotage is almost never a conscious choice. Nobody wakes up and thinks, today I will ruin the good thing I have going. Nobody. It happens below the surface, in the part of your brain that operates on automatic, on pattern, on the deep grooves of everything you've ever learned about what is safe and what is not. Research published by MindLab Neuroscience identifies what they call self-defeating behaviour, where individuals unconsciously undermine their own goals through procrastination, avoidance, or self-medication. And crucially, this pattern activates your brain's threat response system, creating a measurable conflict between what you consciously want and what your automatic brain is doing. That word, threat, is the key to understanding everything. Your brain's primary job is not to make you happy. Your brain's job is not to make you happy. It is not to help you achieve your goals. It is to keep you alive and safe. And the way it defines safe is not good for you long term. Safe means familiar, not new. Safe means known, not new. Safe means I have survived this before. So, when you start to change, when you start breaking old patterns, building new habits, becoming a different version of yourself, your brain interprets that as a threat. Not because change is bad, but because change is unknown. And the brain doesn't like unknown. Your brain cannot distinguish between an unknown thing that is wonderful and an unknown thing that might kill you. Self-sabotage is your brain's emergency brake, pulled at exactly the moment when change is about to become real. Now, here is something that surprised me when I first read the research, and I think it's going to surprise you too. Most of us assume we self-sabotage because we are afraid of failure. And sometimes that is true. But research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2024 found something far more interesting. Researchers found that individuals with high behavioral inhibition sensitivity showed elevated self-defeat rates, specifically at goal thresholds, meaning the moments right before anticipated success. not failure. Success. The brain interpreted the proximity of success as a threat and retreated. Listen to this again. The closer you get to what you want, the more your brain can panic. Because success means change. And change means the unknown. And the unknown to your nervous system is danger. Success means change. Change means the unknown. And the unknown to your nervous system is danger. This is why so many women find themselves doing the opposite of what they intended right when things are going best. It's not self-destruction, it's a protection mechanism. A deeply misguided, incredibly frustrating, completely neurological protection mechanism. And there is more. In 2025, neuroscience study found that people who struggle with self-sabotage show a specific neutral signature. Heightened activity in the areas of the brain associated with mood regulation and self-referential processing, meaning self-sabotage isn't just a behavioral habit. It lives in the structure. It lives in the architecture of your brain. But, like all architecture, it can be renovated, right? Research published in Mindful Spark in 2025 identified the core psychological roots of self-sabotage. And they are worth naming, because recognizing your root is the beginning of uprooting it. The first root is limiting core beliefs. The deep, often unconscious stories you carry about what you deserve, what you're capable of, what people like you get to have. I always mess things up. Good things don't last for me. Who am I to want this? These beliefs don't announce themselves. They operate silently, shaping every decision, every hesitation, every moment you pull back from the edge of something good. The second root is unresolved emotional wounds, old experiences of rejection, criticism, abandonment, or failure that your nervous system hasn't finished processing. Your brain learned from those experiences. It built a rule. And the rule is, if I want something and I don't get it, the pain is unbearable. So, better not want it. Better not try. Better stay small where I am safe. The third root is fear of change itself, not fear of failure, not even fear of success, just the deep, primal discomfort of becoming someone you have never been before, of letting go of the familiar version of yourself, even when that familiar version is making you unhappy. And here is what all three roots have in common. They are not character flaws. They are adaptations, intelligent responses to experiences that taught you something. So the work is not to be ashamed of them. The work is to gently, persistently teach your nervous system something new. Now I want to introduce you to a concept that I belief will change how you experience every attempt at change you ever make again. It is called the Extinction burst, and it comes from one of the most influential frameworks in behavioral psychology: operant conditioning, developed by Skinner. Here is what Skinner discovered. When a behavioral that has been consistently rewarded suddenly stops being rewarded, the subject doesn't immediately give up. Instead, the behavioral initially intensifies. It gets louder, more urgent, more frequent, more extreme, before it finally gradually fades. The classic experiment involved lab rats who had learned that pressing a lever delivered food. When the food reward was removed, the rats didn't stop pressing the lever. They pressed it more times, faster, with more force, before eventually stopping days later. That final intensification before the behavioral dies out is the extinction burst. And here is why this matters for you, deeply and personally. Every habit you are trying to break, every pattern of self-sabotage you are trying to disrupt, has a reward attached to it. Not always an obvious one, but a reward. Emotional eating gives a momentary dopamine hit. Procrastination gives immediate relief from anxiety. Staying in the wrong relationship gives the comfort of familiarity. Keeping yourself small protects you from the vulnerability of being fully seen. When you start breaking that pattern, when you start removing that reward, your brain throws an extinction burst. It demands the old behavior with more intensity than usual. Old cravings come back harder. Old thoughts come back louder. Old fears surface with more force. And most women at that exact moment conclude one of two things. Either this is a sign I should go back, or something is wrong with me. I can't even do this right. Neither is true. What is actually happening is this. The intensity you are feeling is not evidence that you are failing. It's evidence that the change is working. Your brain is throwing its last, most desperate tantrum because it can sense that the old pattern is about to die. And the louder the tantrum, the closer you are to the breakthrough. Here's the hopeful science. The brain, your brain, is neuroplastic. This is not a metaphor. It is a biological fact. Every time you choose the new behavior instead of the old one, every time you feel the pull of self-sabotage and you don't act on it, you are literally building new neutral pathways. Research by Davidson and Bigley confirms that this repetition strengthens new neutral connections over time. The old pathway doesn't disappear immediately, but it weakens with each use, and the new one strengthens with each choice. A 2025 research review published in the World Journal of Advanced Research and Reviews found that new behaviors tied to established routines, what researchers call anchoring, are significantly more successful at replacing old habits because the use of brain's existing reward architecture rather than fighting against it. In plain language, you don't have to be stronger than your brain. You have to be smarter than it. You have to understand what it needs: safety, familiarity, reward, and gives those things to the new behavior instead of the old one. That is not willpower, that is strategy. And strategy always beats willpower. Let's talk about 3 specific ways self-sabotage most commonly shows up for women, because knowing your pattern is the first step to changing it. Pattern 1. Procrastination as self-protection. This is not ordinary procrastination, the kind where you put off boring admin. This is the procrastination that shows up specifically around the things that matter most to you. The creative project, the conversation you need to have, the application you need to send, the appointment that might change things. A 2024 neuroscience study found that people who procrastinate most tend to discount future rewards more steeply, meaning the brain devalues the long-term benefit of taking action because the short-term relief of avoiding it is so immediately powerful. Every time you avoid the important thing, your brain registers avoidance equals relief, and it reinforces that pattern for next time. But here's what makes this specifically self-sabotage rather than just procrastination. The avoidance happens precisely around the things that matter. Not because you don't care, because you care so much that the possibility of failing at it feels unbearable. So the brain says, if we don't try, we can't fail, right? And it offers you Netflix and scrolling and 100 small urgencies. Anything to keep you from the one thing that could actually change your life. You are not lazy. You are protecting something precious. The work is learning to protect it differently. Pattern number 2. Using comfort, food, scrolling, wine, busyness to manage feelings you haven't found another way to hold. Psychology today identifies comfort eating as the one of the most common self-sabotaging behaviors. And the mechanism is straightforward. Sugar, salt, carbohydrates, and entertainment are trigger dopamine release. A temporary but real flood of the feel-good chemical. Your brain learns, when I feel stressed or overwhelmed, this thing makes it better. And it builds that equation into its operating system. The problem is never that. The problem is that the comfort came with a cost, and that cost, over time, begins to compound. And when you feel shame about the cost, which creates more stress, which creates more craving for the comfort, the cycle feeds itself. What's important to understand about this pattern and about all forms of emotional numbing is that the feeling you are trying to escape doesn't disappear when you numbed it. It waits. And it returns, usually louder, usually at a less convenient moment. The path through this pattern is not discipline. It is not white-knuckling your way past the craving. It is finding another route to the same destination. Genuine relief, comfort, and teaching your brain that this new route also works. That is what rewiring actually looks like. Pattern number 3. Pattern 3 is the one that surprises people most, because it looks like the opposite of self-sabotage, right up until it isn't. It's the pattern of shrinking exactly when things start to go well. The relationship is going beautifully, and you pick a fight. The project is getting real traction, and you suddenly lose interest. The goal you've been working toward for months is within reach, and you quietly stop. Not dramatically, just stop showing up for it. Remember what the research found. Self-defeat rates are highest specifically at goal thresholds, the moments of anticipated success, because success means change. It means becoming someone new. It means people seeing you differently, expecting more from you, depending on you in new ways. And somewhere deep in your nervous system, in the parts that learned early that it wasn't safe to be too much, to want too much, to take up too much space, that visibility feels dangerous. Research from Contemplation Station on the neuroscience of self-sabotage describes this as a safety loop, where the brain prioritizes returning to a familiar, low-threat baseline over pursuing a genuinely desired outcome, because the familiar baseline feels survivable in a way that the new thing doesn't yet. The antidote to this pattern is not more ambition. It is building safety inside the new identity. Learning slowly and with great patience that you are allowed to have good things, that you will not be punished for wanting more, that the version of you who is succeeding is not too much. She is exactly right. And here are 5 tools. Each one targets a different point in the self-sabotage cycle. Use the one that fits where you are right now. Tool number 1. Name it to tame it. The next time you feel the pull of self-sabotage, the urge to cancel, quit, retreat, numb, or shrink, stop and name what's happening out loud or in your head. This is my brain throwing its extinction burst. This is the last-ditch effort. This is the proof that I am close. Neuroscience shows that labeling an emotional experience, putting words on what you are feeling, reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system. You are literally turning down the volume of the panic by naming it. When you know what the extinction burst is, when you expect it, when you recognize it by name, it loses its power to convince you that something is wrong. Instead, it becomes information. It becomes, there it is. that one podcaster told me about it. This means I am close, so I have to keep going. Tool number 2. Ride the wave without acting on it. When the craving hits for the old food, the old habit, the old person, the old smaller version of yourself, don't try to fight it. Don't shame yourself for having it. Just observe it. Say, I notice I am feeling the urge to go back. I am not going to judge that urge. I am going to breathe through it and let it pass. Research of self-compassion, the same researcher we've talked about before on this channel, shows that self-compassion reduces shame and actually increases motivation to change. So when you meet the craving with judgment, you add shame to the discomfort, and shame is the single most powerful accelerant of self-sabotage. But when you meet it with curiosity, oh, interesting, where is that urge again? You remove the shame. And without shame, the craving is just a wave, and waves always pass if you don't jump in. Tool number 3. Make it hard to go back. Strategy beats willpower every single time. Every single time. So instead of relying on willpower to resist your old patterns, make the old patterns structurally harder to access. Delete the app, block the contact, remove the food from your house, put the phone in another room, change the route. Whatever your version of the old pattern is, build friction between yourself and it. Research on habit formation consistently shows that environmental design is one of the most powerful tools for behavioral change. You are not fighting your brain when you do this, you are working with it, because your brain will default to whatever is easiest. Make the new behavior easier and the old one harder, and the maths change in your favor. This is not weakness. This is intelligence. The most disciplined people in the world don't rely on discipline alone. They design the environment so that discipline is required less often. Tool number 4. Anchor the new behavior to something your brain already loves. Remember the research we talked about earlier, that new behaviors succeed most when they are tied to existing reward systems. This is called behavioral anchoring, and it works by piggybacking the new habit onto something your brain already associates with pleasure or comfort. If you are trying to replace emotional eating with journaling, light a candle you love while you journal. Give the new behavior a sensory reward that your brain can associate with it. If you are trying to replace procrastination with focused work, make a ritual of it. A specific playlist, a specific drink, a specific place. And the ritual becomes the reward signal that tells your brain, this is the new safe thing. This is the new familiar. Over time, with repetition, with patience, with consistency, the new neutral pathway becomes the stronger one. The old one doesn't disappear, but it weakens and the new one becomes the default. And you cannot lose if you just don't stop. And that is not motivational language, that is neuroplasticity. Tool number 5, and this one is my favorite. Celebrate the extinction burst itself. Not just the breakthrough, not just the moment it gets easy. Celebrate the moment it gets hardest, because that moment is your proof. And the next time you feel the old habit screaming for attention, the next time the craving comes back louder than before, the next time you want to quit more than you've ever wanted to quit, say this to yourself. The intensity means I have interrupted an old pattern. My brain is fighting back because I am winning. This is not proof that I am failing. This is proof that I am changing. And then celebrate, however small, a moment of acknowledgement, a hand on your heart, a note in your phone, day 11, felt the burst, stayed the course. Whatever marks the moment for you. Because the women who break their self-sabotage cycles are not the ones who never felt the pull. They are the ones who felt it fully, uncomfortably, intensely, and choose differently. One moment, one choice, one day at a time. That is how the brain changes. And that is how you become her, the version of yourself you've been working toward all along. You are not broken for self-sabotaging. You are not weak. You are not your own worst enemy. You are a woman with a brain that is trying, and the only way it learned is trying to keep you safe. A brain that builds pattern from experiences. A brain that mistakes familiarity for safety and change for threat. But here's what the same brain can also do. Learn, update, build new pathways, rewire itself with every choice you make, every wave you ride without acting on it, every moment you choose the new thing instead of the old one. You cannot lose if you just don't stop. The version of you who has broken the cycle, she is not a fantasy. She is a neurological destination. And every day you keep going, you are one synapse closer to her. Keep going. She is worth it, and you are worth it. And before you go, I want you to do one thing. In the comments below, tell me, which one of 3 patterns do you recognize most in yourself? The procrastinator, the comfort seeker, or the woman who shrinks when things get good? Just write your number, 1, 2, or 3. I read every comment. Your answer will help me make better episodes for you. If this episode helped you understand yourself a little better today, please share it with one woman in your life who keeps getting in her own way, because she needs to know she is not broken. She's just a little closer to the breakthrough than she thinks. Subscribe if you are not already. New episode is coming, and always made with you in mind. Until next time, name the burst, ride the wave, keep going. You've got this. You've got this. Have a great day and a good week. Bye.